everybody, Zach here from Mythos Pedals and High Voltage Guitars. We are yet again gonna dive into modding a guitar for the YouTube channel. This is a 2005 Gibson Les Paul Standard Faded, and I'm excited to dive into this thing. Matthew, are you excited?
I'm excited. I've had my coffee and I'm ready to get down.
Yes, so I know we've done this a lot in the past, but one of the reasons why we're doing this video now is now that we have high voltage guitars, we carry a lot of great parts for upgrading your guitars, not just the plastic parts. We have Seymour Duncan pickups. We've got some Pearly Gates here. The fine folks at Emerson supplied us a wiring harness and a switch loom. We have all of the killer plastics that we sell at high voltage, including some of the age stuff, some of the metal parts, bridge parts. We got some other things that we don't carry just yet, but who knows? We may in time have everything you need to hot rod guitars. But for now, let's dive into tearing this 2005 Gibson Les Paul Standard Faded apart. Okay, so first things first, let's take these strings off. Matthew.
Yes, sir.
What do you think about this guitar?
I think it's pretty cool. You know, you're the Les Paul expert, so I always wait to see what you think of a guitar first. But I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's it's a little different. I never heard of this model before.
Yeah, so these are pretty popular on the mod scene for the Les Paul because it's faded finish. You can actually polish it up.
Oh, yeah.
And make it pretty shiny, which is nice if you want to. But I kind of like the faded, you know, has like a VOS sort of feel to it. Yeah, I know this is going to seem like a big, long commercial, but guess what? That's exactly what it is.
Hey, man, we're trying to feed our families.
That's right. So now that I got the strings off, I'm going to take all the hardware, all the parts off of this thing. Because everything is coming off. We're going to change the tuners, truss rod cover, all the electronics, all the plastics. We're going to change the bridge hardware. And the only thing that's going to stay stock on this guitar will be like the strap buttons. I'm going to keep the nut on here. I'm not comfortable cutting nuts. And the back plastic. So, is that funny to you, Matthew?
Cutting nuts? I mean, you know, I think I saw them in 2008.
Who did Cutting Nuts open for?
I think it was Screeching Weasel.
Let's do my patent pending method for removing a knob. You take a rag of some ilk, put it under, wrap it around, and pull.
Man.
And off they pop. Sometimes. Jeez.
Glad you're replacing the pots.
Yeah.
Just in case.
You can just rip the shaft out of your potentiometer doing this sometimes if you're not careful. Or if someone, you know, glues them on or does something they should not do, then you can potentially damage your pots. So there's that.
Gotta protect your shaft.
That's right. So I think in addition to this, despite not carrying it yet, we're going to Montys the fretboard. We like Montys here at High Voltage and Mythos, and just here in the greater Nashville area. Right, Matthew?
I mean, we are in Goodlettsville, Tennessee.
You know, it's still
You feel
Davidson
weird when
County.
you say Nashville even though we're in Goodlettsville? Or you're all right with it because we're in Davidson County?
I think I'm okay with it because we're in Davidson County.
Like, barely.
It still counts. Saying Nashville is not for us. That's for the fine folks that might not know the entire Middle Tennessee landscape.
That's true.
You know, because that's true of most places, right?
You just say the biggest city in the area.
Yeah.
When you tell people where you're from and stuff. Nobody knows where Sparta is, so.
Yeah, well, you know, yeah, you're right. I don't think there has to be someone out there that knows, but not many. So in addition to all the parts we have here at the shop, we also have some tools. So we have spanner wrenches, and then we have this thing, the Groove Tech wrench with different size drivers on it to take off stuff like that. And it's really easy, nice little tool to have in your bag. But let's just keep tearing this thing apart. Do you like taking things apart?
No.
Were you ever a kid to like disassemble your toys?
Nope.
Or never?
Never.
Man,
Nope.
that's fun. At least I thought it was.
And you still do.
I still do, you know. I guess that's
I'll
true.
leave that stuff up to you.
Okay. So, get all that out. Let me get the iron out. I'll get everything kind of removed, and we'll desolder the stuff, and then we'll take it from there. But check this out. Look. See how much that's faded?
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah, we can see it.
That's pretty cool. One thing that's cool about this finish, you can even see under where the tailpiece and the bridge were.
Yeah, you can definitely see it.
How yellow it was. So this thing has seen some sun, but that's cool. Yeah, let's get the iron and get these things out of there. Have the iron ready to go. I'm gonna get rid of all this old wiring. But to do that, I will have to desolder the grounds and the pickup leads. But I'm just gonna clip out this switch wiring because we are not gonna use this again.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Just grab that and gone. And then on the potentiometers and whatnot, it's a little more tricky. So hit that and gently lift, and then we'll hit that and gently pull. There we go. All right. And get that output jack loose and get all those electronics out of there. Matthew, what's your favorite part of this process? What's the thing that you enjoy seeing the transformation the most?
It's definitely the pickups.
Yeah.
That's the most exciting part because that's gonna affect what's happening the most, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. What do you think actually affects it the most? The bridge?
No, the pickups definitely change it the most. I think the bridge will change the overall, tone of the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. What we got here?
What's going on?
Number 2.
I would say, actually, not the pickup part, but when you have everything kind of off a guitar for a second and you clean it, wipe it down. Yeah. I enjoy that part.
You like the wiping part?
I like the wiping part.
Okay.
In all aspects of my life. No, but you know what I mean? It's cleaning underneath, this little part right here. Getting underneath there when you take the strings off.
Yeah.
And clean all that, I like all that.
Yeah, it was all dusty here. I'll get all that dust off.
Yeah. See, that's fine. See, I had a legitimate answer.
Yeah, okay.
That's right. I'm not doing a bit here.
So we've got most everything off. Got to get the tuners off. And before we give this thing a cleaning, one thing that I've got questions about and I've been asked about a lot is putting the butyrate M69 style pickup rings on a non-custom shop guitar. Custom shop Les Pauls have a flatter top where the pickups are mounted, but on standard Gibson stuff, it's usually a little more curved. So the pickup rings that were on it, you can see, have a little bit of curve to it. So we can replicate that just by sanding these new rings. So we will lay down some sandpaper, tape it up, and just gently shape the bottom of this ring so it has a little bit more of a contour and doesn't bend as much when you put it on the top of the guitar. Okay, before we sand these pickup rings, we should do some Montys, get that thing starting to soak in. Ooh. Man, this stuff, every time I'm like, dang, it's kind of gross, ain't it? Get that kind of... Everyone seems to have different opinions on the best ways to darken wood. A lot of people were mentioning India ink.
Oh yeah,
and stuff
temporary tattoos or something.
Yeah, but really, powerful or dark ink that would stain it. Which I don't doubt that would work, but I also don't doubt that would just make a right mess of your hands, your clothes. If you mess it up, if you slipped and spilled the bottle, I don't know. This will wash out. It may not look like it, but it will. And so that's kind of why I prefer using something like this that is designed for this. And admittedly, I think it does make the fretboard and and whatnot feel nice. So, and the Montys guys are our friends. They make great stuff. So we're just gonna let this kind of cook while we're doing the rest of the work on the guitar, and wipe that off when it's time to wipe it off.
Brilliant insight. That's why you're the boss.
You're welcome. Okay, so sandpaper. Ugh. We need to conform these M69 aged pickup rings that we sell at highvoltageguitars.com to the top of this. You can take these replica rings and put them on a standard model, but one of the things that standard model has is more of a curve to the top, so the rings that were on it are already bent. I don't know if they started bent. Usually they are kind of molded with a bit of an angle. But what we're gonna do is on this little flat portion here, where it has the curvature of the top, I wanna put down some sandpaper and then run the rings over that to hopefully sand the middle down and get this thing having the right kind of contour and shape. So I'm gonna put down some tape so I don't scratch up the top. And yeah, we'll see what happens, right, Matthew?
I'm ready, boss.
Are you?
Yeah, dude.
You like seeing that dust?
I like seeing that dust fly.
It's like a movie. So what we're gonna do is we'll take a ring, let's try to push the middle to let it sand this middle portion. Now, admittedly, I've never done this.
What?
So we're learning together, but I feel confident. So here we go. Oh, it stinks.
Butyrate smells really good.
Butyrate, oh man, it smells like rotten milk, vomit. It is sanding the middle of this ring. It's ever so slight. I don't even know if you can see how it's like arched up.
A little bit.
Even just already, there's way less flex happening. So I'm just gonna keep on keeping on here, and we'll just see what happens.
I'll just keep standing here and filming.
Okay. I think that's good enough. You can see on the end here how, you know, it still flexes, but it's not that bad. So I'm gonna call that neck ring done. And we're gonna do the bridge ring here and get that ready for the bridge. Oh, it reeks. A long way to go. The back's not too bad, but this front, it flattens out back here, but this portion's pretty curved. Okay, so sanded away, got these things a bit more conformed, and I think I'm happy with that. So we're just gonna pull off the old tape. Hey, all the finish is fine. And we can start getting this thing reassembled and looking nice. Now, some people out there might be wondering if we're going to polish this.
Oh.
And I don't think so. I think we're just gonna leave it as is. I did some testing trying to polish it, and it's totally doable. I just don't want to do it on this.
I kind of like it the way it is.
Yeah, I kind of like it. I like the satiny, you know, soft feel, you know? But we'll start probably headstock and end up finishing with all the electronics. So we'll get some new tuners. I got these tuners and aged them up. So these are a slightly more correct color tip, but I distressed the tips, I distressed the metal, and we're gonna get these installed along with the new Truss Rod cover and all the things that we sell at High Voltage. We're gonna put into this guitar. So let's get it started. When you're going to the same footprint tuner, it's a really, really easy installation job. And let me just show you guys kind of the difference in the color. Can you see that, Matthew?
Oh yeah.
So this is a more green. This was the older Clusen style that they used, and now most Gibsons have the more correct tip color, but it's a minor thing, But to me,
nothing's minor to use that.
Well, that's true. So, you know, if you're going to go, you might as well go all the way. And the lucky part about all this, too, is since we're changing from the same tuner style, you can just use all the original screws and hardware and stuff, and you don't have to ream out the headstock. You don't have to change the bushings. You don't have to do anything.
You don't think different screws sound better?
Not in a tuner. So we'll get all these installed. I did this aging with some of my techniques that I've learned over the past few years trying to perfect my methods for relicking hardware. And I'm happy with how they turned out. They look well loved. So here are the two truss rod covers. This is the one that came on it. Here is the wide bevel that we sell in the shop that's more reminiscent of a vintage Gibson truss rod, or truss rod cover rather. So we'll get this thing put on. But I think this makes a big difference. I didn't age this, maybe I will. But I think it, you know, just gives it a more old school look as opposed to the standard shape. I'm gonna clean all this up, but it's gonna make a difference. Next, we will start putting on some of the bridge hardware and get that ready. One of the things that we sell at High Voltage Guitars are the parts to change from a Nashville style bridge to a vintage style ABR. So we have these little conversion posts that thread right in. So you just thread them in. These are some that I aged.
You prefer the ABR, don't you?
I do. I just aesthetically, tonally, it's just the thing that I prefer. And then you spin on your, there they go, your thumb wheels for setting your height. These conversion posts have a little Allen key up at the top, so if you need to, you know, raise or lower it, if it's poking your hand, you can do that. But this should now allow a ABR1 to slot right on, so you have that aesthetic. So we have some slightly aged tailpiece studs that we threaded in here, and then one of the rounded vintage style tailpiece. That
when you say rounded, what do you mean?
I prefer how soft these edges are. It's not quite as hard and sharp, and just has a more old school look. This is a lightweight aluminum tailpiece, and you get that on there, and we'll top wrap it the way I like it. That will change the sound. This is a big part of the sound, but I'm gonna take all this off because these will fall off, and we'll move on to getting all the electronics in. The fine folks at Emerson made me a vintage style wiring loom. This is not something they normally do. If you guys think this is something you'd be interested in, let us know and we will have them make us some. But this makes it easy to get this thing more vintage accurate. So how you do this, you gotta flip this thing over and take all of your loom here and feed it through the cavities. Some people like the stuff that's all, you know, inside one little piece of shielded wire. I'm not as big a fan of that. Sometimes it comes out the pickup holes. So luckily on these standard models, especially these from this era, the channel route to get all this into the cavity back here is really big. So since the cavity is so large on this guitar, it's not as big a pain getting it all fed through. I mean, inevitably there's always a little bit of difficulties getting these things into the control cavity, but we'll get there. Oh man.
Doing great, boss.
Okay, got hold of everything. So now, all this is in, so we can take this and feed that down there, like so, like that.
Beaut.
So Now, we will throw on the poker chip, one of the aged ones that we do at highvoltageguitars.com.
Love those plugs.
And get on a coarse vintage style deep threaded switch nut that we also sell at the website, you know. And get that all locked down. I'll straighten it up so it flips the correct direction. But that is in there. Okay, we'll get that straightened up, and then we'll start doing probably the pots, and then we'll get the pickups in.
Sweet.
Easy. Switch is installed, right direction, poker chips oriented properly. So next thing will be getting this Emerson Les Paul wiring kit into the cavity here. So this thing has got Emerson's new Premier Pro pots, their paper and oil Bumblebee style caps, and on a Les Paul standard, or any carved top from the standard line, non-custom shop, typically the top is the thickness where you have to use the long shaft 500K pots. You can't use a short shaft pot on this style Les Paul from the standard line. You got to use the long, so that's what we're going to use. So let's get this.
Is there a reason why they do that style on the standard line?
You know, I don't know exactly why. I think maybe because they're just not routing the cavity as deep in here. But I don't know. It might have more of a severe top carve on reissues. You know, the top carve is different, but I'm not exactly sure, Matthew.
Never mind then.
That's a good question.
Hey, all right.
Where's my little tool? Aha! Here it is. The Groove Tech. This thing's handy.
Groove Tech's one of my favorite late 80s bands, too.
Oh, yeah. What was their big hit?
Rhythm Isn't a Dancer.
Rhythm's not a dancer.
There you go. Rhythm Isn't a Dancer. Doesn't really flow as well, so you had a better joke. We're workshopping.
That's right, yeah. All right. So we'll take all this and take all these. We need these.
New and improved.
Yes, they're new pots. So one thing about a carved top and using long shaft pots is you have these additional nuts that you're going to use to set the height. So we're going to try to test fit these to see how much of the potentiometer is coming through the top so you can easily get everything where you need it. Those are not coming through at all, so we're going to back that stuff way down. Honestly, this sort of little tedious work is kind of the things that take the longest on these sort of jobs. That'll do. That should be good. All right, so we'll get some more of these parts on here. So I aged up some thumb cutters. Got them nice and gross looking. And we'll get the nuts on there. Someone asked, do the thumb cutters just go in place of the washer? And yes, that is exactly what you do. Just don't put the little washer on there. Just use the thumb cutter. And it's okay if these aren't like all the perfect height together. They don't have to be all absolutely perfect. And honestly, sometimes you'll kind of lose your mind if you're chasing just absolute perfection with the height of stuff on a guitar. Okay, so now that those are in, we can use our Groove Tech wrench here. Kind of I just usually angle those just where, I don't know, where I've normally seen them. I'll just put them kind of that way.
There's not a set spot.
There's not. Well, then maybe there is, but I try not to worry too much about it. Because oftentimes you never get the potentiometers in the exact same spot anyway. So like the placement of like where 10 is might be slightly different. You can always loosen this and then come back and change it as needed. Okay, so those are in. So now I'll wait to put the knobs on. And one of the things I like to do before we solder stuff is always turn them all to 0. So let's get the switch wired to these things, and then we can get the pickups installed.
Woo!
Making good time. The Emerson kit is in. I have routed everything. They label which wire is which, so we're gonna get this all installed in the guitar. I reused the little black tubing. Use that for your output jack wire so nothing is shorting out. But we'll connect the switch to the correct positions on the potentiometers, reconnect the ground, and then we'll move on to the pickups. All right, so we're gonna take this bridge ground. You see that, Matthew?
Yes, sir.
And we're gonna attach that to the ground on the back of the potentiometer. I'm going to tin my iron, and we'll just move this down and apply some heat. Take a screwdriver or a chopstick, whatever you got, hold that down, and that is connected. And on this Emerson kit, like I said, these are labeled. The green end is the neck switch lead, and the white end is the bridge switch lead. So I'm going to get that bent up a little bit, leave a little extra space, clip that, and then we'll take this pushback shielded braided 2-conductor wire, push the braid back. Sometimes you need some pliers. I'm gonna grab that cloth middle bit and pull the braid back like that. And then with the cloth covered stuff, you can grab it again and then pull and expose just a little bit of that. And then what I like to do is take that and we'll solder it.
Yeah.
So give that a nice tinning. And then we'll take this, and this goes in the middle lug of that potentiometer here. Have that connected, same pad as the capacitor. And that is on there. Then I will tin back here, and we will ground that braid to the back of the pot. So, and then just place the iron on the back of the pot, flow in a decent glob of solder, and you have a nice little place to solder that connection. And then additionally, where that will go down, I'm going to tin underneath that on this braid, like that. You can be pretty generous. Take a screwdriver or chopstick or whatever, push that down, flow it on, and immediately you have a good connection for that switch lead. We'll do the same thing on the bridge. Again, we clip. This is a bit tricky, just getting this exposed here. Kind of have to push, there we go, get that cloth exposed. And then I'm gonna push back on this cloth wire, get the lead out a little bit, to grab it, pull, just a little bit exposed. Again, tin that, put that in the second lug, just as before. A little tricky, a little tight over here on the bridge connection. And flow, 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 flow. And that's in there. And then we'll do the same thing. I'll ground it back here. So flow onto my tip, push. Get a nice little glob of solder there. Bend this over. Now we'll tin this, the bottom of this braid. push this braid down onto that little glob of solder, and boom. Pickup connection is next. It's just that easy.
Yeah.
Yet again, thanks to Emerson for providing this switch assembly and this wiring kit. If you want to upgrade your guitar and you're not comfortable doing all of that soldering, then the Emerson wiring kits are great, really high quality parts throughout, really solid work, and we have them at highvoltageguitars.com. Okay. But up next is the pickups. So I have a set of Pearly Gates from Seymour Duncan, and I've, since this guitar has a little bit of a patina, I aged the pull screws, sanded them. Killer set of pickups that will work well in this and kind of give it some appetite for destruction, you know, Derek Les Paul vibes.
Yeah, let's go.
You know, and
you're a huge Guns N' Roses guy, right, Zachary?
You know, I like some of it. I never had that phase. I think in college, in the early aughts,
yeah,
I tried to get into Guns N' Roses, and I think I was too late.
Yeah.
You know?
I got really into them senior year of high school.
Yeah, that checks out.
Devin and I used to listen to them a lot, and then over the years, when we would enjoy some beverages and talk about rock and roll.
Beverages?
You know, adult beverages.
Oh, man,
talk
martinis.
About rock and roll, maybe go out on the town a little bit. We always used to try to end the night with Rocket Queen.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite Guns N' Roses track. Do you have a favorite Guns N' Roses track? That's not an obvious single.
You know, I don't know.
You know any songs that aren't singles?
No. So we're just going to put this neck pickup in. I've had these pickups for a little while, but, you know, I thought, now's the time. Let's get them in something, and this Les Paul seems the perfect candidate. And I think our curved, sanded pickup rings are going to work nicely in this guitar.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, let's hope. So there's that pickup ring. And let's see how the curve worked out, the sanding. Because the last thing you want to do is upgrading a guitar. You get to this point, you get your fancy M69 style pickup rings from highvoltageguitars.com, screw them down, you're screwing, and pow, they break right in the middle. You don't want that. So there is definitely gonna be a little flex on there. So we'll see how far it goes. There's a little bit, you can see a little gap there. So maybe I rushed, maybe I was a little too impatient, or maybe you would have to sand more on the edges, but it's better. You can tell how flat it is up here. So the top probably has a better curve than this bottom part of the ring, but it's in there and it's gonna work. So that's all you can ask for, right? So let me get this pickup installed. I like doing pickups when the leads are like this and it's hard to tell which one is which. Just install one pickup, solder that to the correct switch or pot or whatever, and then go back and do the second pickup. So let's do that first. The red and the white wire are together, so I just like to tape these up. Just use a little masking tape.
Together forever.
You can put heat shrink or make them pretty, but it's okay. This is the ground, and this is your hot. So what I'm going to do is do another tin connection on the back of the potentiometer there. So we'll do this. Tin that connection right there. Don't breathe that.
Too late.
And then, you might not see this because of my hand, but that connection goes to the ground. This will go into the lug there, third lug. And that pickup is in.
Cool.
Flip it over and do the same thing on the bridge. There we go. And that's down. Perfect. So we'll get that installed, and then it's gonna be just getting the bridge on, the jack, and this thing's almost done. Easy.
Good, because we're almost open.
Oh, man. Okay. 10. Breathe. I don't like the four conductor stuff as much. I mean, I definitely get it. I understand why you'd want to use it. But I do find that it's a bit
Here's a great question for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a great question.
Uh-huh.
I know you're not into like splitting coils or anything like that.
Splitting or tapping?
Splitting or tapping?
Yeah.
How like effective do you think that stuff is? Like, do you think for other people there's like records and bands and artists that you see use that to a great effect and it's not your thing? Or people like options, but it's not really anything you remember anybody using?
I mean, the obvious guy is Jimmy Page. Like, he used it.
There you go. That's why I was asking.
But
you know this stuff.
I'm not...
I don't know. For me, the idea of trying to have a do-it-all guitar
can be a bit of a fool's errand, in my opinion. I don't know if you agree with that.
Well, I remember my dad borrowed my McCarty once
Uh-huh.
for a gig, and he mostly plays telly-style stuff. And he split the coil on that thing, and you would, if you closed your eyes, you thought he was playing a telly.
Yeah, I think
that's
definitely
technique, baby.
Yeah, I think it's definitely down to the player, but I don't know. So, last thing we're gonna do is get a new jack on this guitar because the one that was on there is a bit tired. And Emerson kits, if you're buying a pre-wired kit, come with a brand new Switchcraft jack, which is, can you see that Switchcraft in there?
Yes, I can.
Which is what you want in a guitar, in my opinion. I don't like those pure tone jacks as much. The ones that have multiple connections, I feel like they're too stiff. And this works great. This is fine. So, what you have to do when you're doing the vintage style wiring on this is we will push back this wire, expose the cloth, and then you basically will tack it here, bend it around, and then you have your connection. So let me get a piece of foam or something to hold this. I like to come in from the outside like that. We'll go ahead and bend this, and we'll get that soldered down. We'll bend it over, and we'll get this thing in the guitar. So I like to solder it, kind of tin it, and just fill this up. You want a really strong connection here. All right, so I've bent this wire so that the braid is now hitting the ground connection, which goes to the sleeve of the cable. And I've angled it so that it will feed through the chamber there, the little cavity there. Now all we have to do the ground connection is we'll just solder, oop, melting my foam here. Don't breathe that.
Too late.
Get that connection nice and solid. And that thing is going to be perfectly grounded. We'll get that in the guitar and put on a new replica jack plate. And we'll be ready to make sure these pickups work.
So we've got this thing plugged up. Everything is turned up. Let's see if it works.
That works. Neck, middle works. Bridge works. Volume, tone, neck, volume, tone. So we're all good here. We will get all this Montys cleaned off.
Goodbye, Montys.
Get this thing restrung, the knobs on it, and we'll plug it in and hear how it sounds. I know what some of you are saying. Why didn't you play it before? Well, it had changed pickups. It wasn't like a stock instrument before. And I don't know. To me, it's about the journey and having fun doing this. And it's going to sound good now. Yeah. The Montys made a pretty significant difference in the fretboard, I think. Looks a lot richer, a lot nicer, and just a lot better. So I'm gonna get these knobs on here. I'm using some of our replica reflector knobs, which are fun. I love the way that these look on a guitar like this.
So we got this thing restrung. It's already looking so much better. So the only thing really left to do, apart from hearing it, I got to do a little setup, see how the action is, and we'll plug this thing in. Crank it through a. What should we crank it through, man?
I think the new divided by 13 A&W.
That's right. We'll do that. Cool.
You got preferred heights and such for your guitars there, brother?
I do. So I really like these D'Addario string gauges. So this will help you set up your stuff. It's got a little setup ruler, millimeters, inches, and stuff. I usually on the bass side, I like the bottom of the string to be about 1.25, about 1.25 mil, and then on the high side, you fret that first fret, and then adjust the saddles, or the bridge rather, up and down. And usually on the high E side, I like it about 1 mil. That to me is about the action that I go for. Your mileage may vary, but for me, that's kind of where I like it. So let's get this thing tuned up and plugged in. Matthew!
What?
We got it loaded. It's all working.
We got a nickname for this guitar?
How
about Fady? No?
I like Fady. That's pretty good.
Like
okay,
that.
so we've got this 2005 standard faded with the Pearly Gates Emerson wiring into the AMW 39. I haven't played this thing yet, and it's pretty sick. So here we go. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Let's go!
Okay.
Wrap it up, fuzzball.
All right. Here we are. The finished product, the standard faded here, loaded with Pearly Gates pickups from Seymour Duncan, the Emerson wiring, the switch, the pots, high voltage plastic and metal parts, new Clues and tuners, new Truss Rod cover, and yeah, it's really great. Montys did a lot of work bringing that fretboard to life because it was looking rough, but I'm happy with this.
We gonna keep this, boss, or we selling it?
We'll probably sell it on highvoltageguitars.com.
Yeah, Darth Vader.
Darth Vader, yes.
Darth Vader.
Thanks, Robert Baker, for that one. But yeah, go to mythospedals.com to learn more about the pedals we make. Again, go to High Voltage Guitars, check out all the inventory of these parts and the guitars and amps and everything that we're stocking. We're really excited about the future of the store, and we appreciate all the support you guys have given so far. Thanks again. Thanks for watching. And oh, come here. Thanks, Robert Baker, for this.
Oh, man.